What's up, guys? We are back with another NECA Toys review, taking a look at one of the most recent Alien figures to come out, and this is probably the biggest one of this particular short wave, and that would of course be the Alien Resurrection Newborn Alien. And yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie, so I'm very much excited to actually dig into this one. This guy does come in an Ultimate style packaging, so you've got the Alien Resurrection logo on the front and on the sides, and then the back of the package has a little bit of a write-up as well as some shots of the alien along with Ripley. But being an Ultimate style package, you've got a flap that you can pop open, and then you've got a shot of the alien on the inside, and then you've got his gruesome visage here in the plastic in the bulk of the box. So great presentation. Of course, you can pop him out and put him back in if you so choose. So you do have some display options with this guy. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. All right, and here he is out of the package, our newborn alien. This is an interesting piece for sure because, well, it's an alien, it's a xenomorph, but it is so wildly different from everything else. Not to mention the fact that it is absolutely freaking massive. This thing is huge. It's almost a foot tall, and it definitely is kind of weird when it comes to, well, proportions and just the general sculpt and the look and the design. This is like one of those things that really couldn't exist in reality because of how weird its design is. It would probably collapse on itself, and this figure is a little difficult to pose, but it is pretty well packed with articulation. It's kind of that NECA thing where it is very well crammed with joints, and it does move really well. It just sort of needs some work when it comes to standing him. As you can see, he does stand up just fine, but again, this took at least a couple minutes. So let's take a look and see what this guy can do. He can move around pretty well. This guy does come with a stand, and I think that's going to help with your posing because, I'll be honest, I have a really hard time keeping him in any real pose outside of just sort of standing him up without the stand. So he is working just fine like this, but with some more dynamic poses, you're probably going to want to use that thing. So the head here is on a ball peg that's in the back of the skull, well, the middle of the skull, but at the front of the beginning of the head, so he can kind of rotate around and move up and down. You do have an articulated jaw for that very iconic screaming scene, which that sound is forever etched in my mind. So you've got that. You've got torso rotation, so he's got a ball peg here, so he goes back and forth. Little bobble side to side, and then rotation. Arms go out at the shoulder. They, of course, rotate. You've got nothing at the bicep, but you've got a swiveling double jointed elbow, which gets you really, really far up, and it swivels at the forearm as well. You've got swivels at the wrist as well as hinges. And then you've got your legs, which are jointed as, well, about as normally as you would expect a xenomorph figure from NECA to be. It's just, I mean, look at how big these legs are. They are crazy long. I mean, they're bigger than my hand, so they are quite tall, not to mention the fact that they are really spindly. So when you're doing these, you've got joints that will go out to the sides, but he's got those kind of hip bones for a Xeno, so they do hit the sides, but then you can rotate in there as well. So he can kind of shimmy forward and backward, and then up and down a little bit, and then he can kick with that rotation. You've got a double jointed style knee here, but it's really just one joint. It's only one, but it's such an interesting cut that it basically goes all the way back. And then you've got rotation there. You've also got another cut right down here, which also has a tremendous range of motion because nothing is in the way. You've also got rotation at the second ankle or knee, and then you've got your actual ankle, which has rocker, and then you've got forward and backward, and then rotation down there as well. So he is, about as articulated as you might expect a xenomorph to be. He is just so wildly different, and the proportions are so elongated and stretched out that it does take some doing to pose him, but he is packed with all the same kind of stuff that you would really expect to find in any other xenomorph. Now, as far as the overall look and feel for this guy, I'm going to go ahead and kind of say the thing that I have been saying a lot lately, and that's, that I didn't buy this guy for his articulation, for how he can or can't move. He does move pretty well, he just balance is an issue. But I bought him because of how he looks and the nostalgia for me when it comes to this particular movie, and just the fact that it's always kind of stuck with me. So this newborn alien has always been kind of a thing that, despite the horrific and disgusting nature of this one, I've always been drawn to this design. It's very much not a traditional xenomorph, but this thing is just creepy as hell, and I always thought it was just the wackiest thing. So this guy is recreated almost perfectly, I would say. I really don't have any issues with the sculpt or the paint on this figure. If anything, the only real downside to this guy is that the design of the figure itself, and that comes from the actual creature, kind of precludes movement and dynamic posing without use of some sort of secondary aid. But that notwithstanding, this is an awesome looking action figure, not to mention the fact, like I said, he is absolutely massive. I'll do a few size comparisons here shortly to show you, but this guy is huge, and there's a ton of plastic here, and it's just a big, gnarly, nasty looking figure. So, you've got the very flabby but also skeletal design. So you've got the wayfish, really thin, wispy arms and legs, but you've got like the kind of fat gut and like the flappy little boobs that hang down on this thing. He does have painted nipples on there. They're like little pinpricks, but he's got them. Every inch of this figure is covered in some sort of kind of folds or cuts or just, slimy, nasty texture. And it's all covered in kind of a shiny looking wash, and just the plastic itself is very, very shiny to give that kind of, well, newborn look. But it's that whole, he's very wet in the movie, he kind of glistens throughout, so you've got that thing going on. Of course, you've got the very, I don't know what it's really supposed to indicate, but you've got the scar in the crotch area, and it is just as nasty looking as it is in the movie. It's definitely something that, maybe not for kids, I guess, but it is very true to the film. You've got the exposed holes in the thighs here where the bones are, because, again, this thing is just so weird looking with the combination of alien and human DNA that it makes for such a crazy combination. And then down here at the legs, more of like the really thin, wispy looking legs here with the bones, basically just skin and bones on these. And then you've got the four-toed kind of flat feet down there. So stuff that's, very Xenomorph-ish, but also very, very different. And I just love the sculpt on this thing. I think NECA did a tremendous job with this guy. He's humongous. He's covered in paint, covered in texture. And I mean, it's just a nasty, gnarly design that they translated into figure form really, really well. And despite the fact that I guess the scar is one of the big things when it comes to kind of hallmarks of this figure, for me, it's all about the head sculpt on this guy. It is truly fantastic. And of course, one of the big things for this alien, which I've already mentioned, is that this guy is a combination of things. So he's a combination of human and xenomorph DNA, and that comes through with a lot of features, but mostly for me, it comes through when you get to this head sculpt. And there is just so much going on here, a ton of detail. The head is truly massive. I mean, it's a very large piece, but you've obviously got like a humongous skull, kind of a crest that starts and goes all the way through, and it goes, of course, through the back, down through the spine. And you've just got a very, very long xenomorph style of head, but it's done up in kind of, a human bone skeletal structure. And then, of course, that goes all the way through with the moving part up here. Tons and tons of detail, tons of paint, tons of texture. But you've got this, ultimately what you have here is the very almost human looking head sculpt, well, as far as the face goes, with those sunken sockets in the eyes, the nose, and then the mouth. And it's just, I think it's recreated almost perfectly here. This looks so much like what we see in the film, and I really can't get over it. I think they did a fantastic job with everything on this figure, but when it comes to what I like the most, it's definitely this head sculpt, and it just looks so much like the film. And frankly, I can't not see that horrific screaming scene in this movie when I open the mouth. And I think that's a good hallmark of the fact that they did a great job, because I'm having kind of flashbacks to actual movie scenes just because I'm holding this figure in my hands. And I think they did a superb job on this one. And as I mentioned, here is a quick size comparison between a few other figures. So you've got one that I think works really well is to give you comparison to another Xenomorph, because NECA Xenomorphs are relatively large figures to begin with. They are definitely not the smallest thing in anyone's collection. And even then, this is one of the more recent aliens. You've got the Scorpion alien from the Kenner homage line. Even then, this guy towers over this thing. It is truly a massive figure. Of course, this guy's a little bit beefier, but as far as height and scale goes, the newborn really, really kind of sets a new standard for a lot of alien figures. And then here he is with the recent SDCC NECA Superman figure, so a slightly larger but more normal style figure. And you can see that Superman is just absolutely dwarfed. And then as far as some more standard figures, you've got a Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man figure, And then we've got the Lord Zed from the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. And then a Wolverine figure, just to give you an idea of what a Marvel Legends looks like next to him. So this guy is absolutely huge. There is no doubt about it. And he will definitely be a frightening presence on your shelf because of that. Now, I did mention that this guy comes with a stand. And that is a bit of a bonus for this guy because most Alien figures don't come with accessories at all. Generally, there's really not much that they could or should come with. This guy also fits that bill, but they kind of went the extra mile on this one and gave us the stand. And I think, honestly, that was the right move because he is capable of standing on his own. You know, you've seen it throughout the video, but I'm not so sure that I trust him to stand unassisted for long periods of time. Someone comes walking by and just shakes him and he could fall down. So this is a welcome addition. I'm not familiar with NECA stands personally. I've never gotten any of them in a package before, nor have I bought them individually, but it is pretty nice. It does seem to be very sturdy, and I've had no issues with him falling over. So you've got a claw so you can grab him by the torso. It's got an extension piece here that you can take out if you want, and then it's got a couple of hinge points there so you can move it around. It does move up and down as well. This piece here will allow you to kind of lift it up and down, and then you've got this large flat base down here just to keep everything sturdy. So he doesn't necessarily need it. You know, if you're feeling lucky, you might not need it, but I would err on the side of caution and just use it because it definitely does work and it keeps him in place really, really well. So outside of the fact that this guy is kind of a pain to balance, I am really, really happy with the way he turned out. I think NECA has done a truly fantastic job in translating this creature into figure form. He's massive. He has a great shelf presence. He is terrifying in just pretty much every detail, from the head to that disgusting scar to just the weird skeletal yet flabby body. Everything about it screams just nasty, disgusting creature, and I think NECA did a fantastic job of recreating that. He does, of course, again, have the issues of balance, but they gave you a stand to fix that, and he just looks cool. You can definitely get him into some fun poses, with or without the stand. You know, you just might need to work with it, but otherwise, I think this is a really solid toy. He absolutely looks like he jumped right out of the movie, and I really couldn't ask for too much more. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA Toys Newborn Alien. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.